how many of you are familiar with the 80-20 rule? The one that I'm speaking about specifically is the one that exists within the red pill manosphere, whatever you want to say, where they say that 80% of women are going after 20% of men, right? And we know that that leads to all types of unhealthy dynamics when it comes to like men approaching women and how men treat women and so on and so forth, and just how men think about women, right? Imagine thinking that you are, I'm sorry, not you, but that women are so shallow that they only want men that they have to meet a certain level of attractiveness physically, and they have to meet a certain level of, I don't know, what would we call it? I don't know, consciousness, right? Now I get that women do care more about, other things as far as like character and things of that nature because, women are at greater risk when they get into a relationship with a man, and don't get it twisted. Men care about that stuff too, but women definitely put more of an onus on it, right? And men have convinced themselves that if they don't look a certain way and if they don't make a certain amount of money, then women aren't going to be interested in you. Correct? I talk about this so much because this idea has a hold on the manosphere, has a hold on men in general. And even if you don't say 80-20 or 20-80 or whatever, most men actually do believe that women only want like Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like when you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, tons of women want Chris Brown, and I know that Chris Brown is, unattractive to a lot of women right now because of his track record. But I don't know, Aaron Pierre, right? Like most women want to be with an Aaron Pierre or Idris Elba or whatever the case may be. Like I'm not stupid. I think that that's true. Whatever. I don't really know too many white actors. I'm sorry for any non-black actors. I pretty much only know black actors for the most part that I can think of off the top of my head. But needless to say that I do believe that most women want those men. Like that's fine. And when I say that, I'm saying like those dudes seem cool enough, emotionally, and they seem safe enough, but they also are extremely attractive men. You know what I mean? Physically. So yeah, I can see why most women would be attracted to a man like that or him or whatever the case may be. That's fine. You can call that your preference or whatever you want to say. But to sit here and act like women are so shallow that they are pretty much acting like petulant children that just want to have their way. And if they can't have their way, then they're not going to deal with men. It's such a fallacy. It's such a lie. And it harms men. And it ultimately ends up harming women as well, because what that does is when you think women are dehumanizing men, you essentially dehumanize women, right? And we already know that we don't need any more help dehumanizing women when it comes to men. Like we already dehumanize women in so many ways, but we don't need to take on this new way of dehumanizing women where we think that women are, in this case, just as bad as men, because that's what men do. The whole 80-20 rule is more men, right? And what I'm saying is that I know that men are desperate to be with women, not necessarily to be in healthy relationships with women, but most men are desperate to sleep with women, let's say, right? So they will get with all different types of women that don't, meet up with their or match up with their physical criteria or even their emotional criteria for women. But that's the fault of men, that men are so desperate for vagina that we are willing to lower our quote unquote standards to be with women. You can't put that on women though. You can't assume that women are, their standards are out of whack, or you know what I mean, or their boundaries are out of whack because they're like, no, I don't want to just have meaningless sex with the man. I want to have a deeper connection. And also, even if I wanted just to have sex with the man, I need to make sure that that man is at least relatively safe. Whereas men, we don't have to worry about that so much. Like, how does believing this help you as a man?
The reason why the dating scene is so hard for most guys in 2024 is very simple, man. There's a 20-80 rule. 20% of the guys are talking to 80% of the women. So you're only left with 20%. And the 20% you don't want, you don't like, they're giving you problems. But 80% of the women, only 20% of guys are messing with those women. Reason why, they know how to talk to girls. They know how to text them. They're brave. They're persistent. They talk to pretty girls all the time. They dress nice. They look good. They know how to talk to women. They understand women. So that's why the 20% of guys are with 80% of the women. There, most of the time you meet a girl, she's already talking to like multiple guys, and she's probably talking to a guy that's part of the 20%, and she want that guy, right? You come and you're like, okay, let's see what you can do. You're not saying the right things. You're not doing the right things. So she's gonna be stuck on that 20% of that guy that's in the 20%. So if you want to learn how to stop struggling in 2024 and 2025 that's coming, you need to, work on your game, understand how women work, improve yourself so you can stop struggling. The reason why the dating
Now, I it almost makes sense when you hear it like that, but let's think about it closely. Let's look at it closely. Okay. So he's saying that only 20% of men pretty much know how to effectively communicate with women. That's what he's saying, right? Now, the thing about that is that's completely subjective. Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There are tons of women who think that I'm unattractive, who think I'm very unattractive, I'm sure. And there are women who think I'm with my wife. My wife thinks I'm super attractive, right? There are tons of women who think that I am not funny at all. And then there are women who think I'm hilarious, and so on and so forth, right? Hey, there's somebody for everybody. Like you are somebody's cup of tea in theory. So with that being said, there's also tons of women who don't know how to communicate with men as well. There are tons of women who are shy as well, bashful, apprehensive, unsure of themselves. There are tons of those women too. The thing is that the reason why I'm saying like this thought process to some extent doesn't help because he was actually more rational than most men. Don't get me wrong. I picked a video specifically because I could have picked the ones when the men are like batshit crazy and they're just like, man, they won Chads and da 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 da. He is, he's seeming like he's giving you rational information. But if you think about it though, it's like, yeah, you should work on yourself. You should improve yourself. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But still, this notion when you guys are trying to essentially demonize women for wanting to deal with the top 20% of men who they find attractive is problematic in and of itself. It's not a problem. It's just not a problem. And the biggest reason why this is a problem though is because he is acting like I said, beauty and whatever appeal isn't in the eye of the beholder. So he's acting as if this is some scientific thing where there is a top 20% of men. There's not. There's not. What are you talking about? It depends on where you're at. What group of women are you talking to? Ethnicity matters. Age matters. There's so many variables that matter. So you can be a top 20% man in a certain area, whatever. Like, for an example, I live in the state of California, right? The money I make in California, I'm not in I'm in the top, 15% of money earners, let's say, right? In California, top 20, I don't know, whatever, top 20%. I don't know. I'm just making up a number. I'm in the top 15, 20%. Okay, cool. In California. If I moved to Montana, I would be, let's say, I might be in the top 3% in Montana. If I move to Oklahoma or Kentucky, I might be in the top 5%. You see what I'm saying? It's all subjective. It all depends on so many things. But trying to push this narrative like there is a 20% of men is a top 20% of men is just it's not true and it's not helpful. But this here is probably the best breakdown of how problematic the 2080 rule is. Like she really just exposes their whole flaw, like the flaw in their logic.
Also, when it comes to the whole 2080 rule that only 20% of men are wanted by 80% of women, and how y'all don't get any matches and don't get any dates through dating apps, I'm assuming this rule applies to women that are 25 and younger, right? Because you've told us that no one's going to want us once we're over 25, once we're over 30. So I'm assuming that the dating pool that you're drawing from is only women that, let's say, are under the age of 30. So it would make sense then that only 80% or that 80% of women under 30 would only want 20% of men because you're drawing from a smaller pool. there's much less women, if we're looking at the grand scheme of things, that are under the age of 30. But if we're looking at all women, including the women that are over the age of 30, then it sounds like people do want us over the age of 30. And you guys are the ones who have trouble getting women to want you, regardless of what age you are. You see how no matter what argument we use here, there's always a fallacy within it? Because there is an inevitable and inescapable truth in all of these arguments, and it's the truth that you guys do not want to accept. Men have been able to get women in the past because they have used coercion and violence and control. Now that those kinds of tools are not as applicable in today's dating market, and women have the ability to provide for themselves, and they have the ability to abstain from getting married and having children, y'all are having an issue dating because we no longer have to be forced to be with you. That's the truth. So you're going to have to step up and provide more to the dating market if you want a partner. That's just it. That's it. Period. End of conversation. You are going to have to figure out ways to do more and be more to appeal to women. And no, that doesn't just have to do with money. That has to do with being emotionally intelligent. That has to do with being funny. That has to do with being attractive and taking care of yourself and having some kind of beauty standard that you hold yourself to, the same way that women have had these impossible beauty standards to hold ourselves to in order to find a mate. And historically, for women, finding a mate meant finding and securing herself resources because there were no other way to find or secure resources. Y'all want a mate just because you want a mate. It's not because you need to secure resources for yourself. It's because you can't fathom not having a mate. Because when you do not have a mate, when you do not have a woman in your life, you become a threat to yourself and to others. That's the issue here. This is a skill issue. This is a skill issue that you need to address. This is your fucking problem.
I love that. I love that she said that at the end because that's exactly what it is. It's a skill issue, which means it is solvable. Men, it is solvable. It is very solvable. We can overcome this as a group. We can. It's not nature. It ain't just how we are. We're not doomed or anything like that. You just have to get it out your head that women owe you anything. You just have to get it out your head that women are your property. I know that's easier said than done because we've been thinking that way for like 3 or 4 millennia, but you need to really get that out of your skulls. It's just not true. And it's harming us, right? It really is. Jackson. We're good for a Jackson visit at least once a day, but here we are. But yeah, it is definitely something that we can overcome as a group if we do it together, and men stop lying to other men and stop, painting women out to be the villain in the horror story when the whole time it's us. We're shooting ourselves in the foot time and time and time again. This is more of the thought process that we need to adopt right now.
This idea of demonizing ugly men is such a red pill talking point. Like, newsflash, guy. They don't care. Women don't care. I mean, they might. Some will. Some won't. Some will think you're attractive. Some will not. That's the thing. They're not a monolith. They're people. All it does is reinforce that 80-20 rule BS that the manosphere invented. Because red pillars are only attractive, in the sense of their content is only attractive, to men with low self-esteem. So what do? They make sure you have low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's actually ugly about you is your low self-esteem, not your face.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. I did a video on a young man. He's a completely incel. He's a complete incel at this point. It seems like. And, he's talking about how women don't want to deal with him, and how they don't choose him or whatever, but they ask him for money, right? And it's not because he's ugly or unattractive on the outside, which he's not that attractive on the outside, and it's everything's interrupting me today. So he's not attractive on the outside, but not like that's not to shame him. I'm not saying like he can't be attractive. I'm just saying like he puts zero effort into being attractive, and it's clear. You know what I mean? Like there's one thing to be like, it's one thing to be like Metro or like, you know what I mean, like being too into yourself. I'm not even talking about like going to the gym all the time. Like, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying just like his whole entire look, like he just looks like he doesn't care about himself. He looks unkept. You know what I mean? So he's physically unattractive, and then he's emotionally unattractive as well. And then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. And every single time he comes in contact with a woman and that he reeks of lack of confidence and doesn't appeal to them, he then internalizes that, but then blames the women. He takes that and then he won't internalize it and be like, oh, this is a me thing, I need to fix it. He goes, what? They just don't like me. They just want me for my money. Whores, skanks, you know what I mean? Like, and he becomes like very belligerent and disrespectful to the women. Fuck them. I don't care about their feelings. He's already saying that. He's like in his content. He's like, fuck that. I don't care about their feelings. Like, that's not that many steps away from straight up violence against women. So I really just want men to, like, especially men like him, if he sees this, like, really just stop, think about what you're saying. You're on a slippery slope. You're on a dangerous path, and nobody is going to be able to get you off of this path but yourself. Like, you're going to have to do it yourself. And you're not going to be able to do it as long as you're consuming red pill content and as long as you are investing in these harmful and toxic ideas like the 20/80 rule, and that women only want men for their money, or they only want 20% of men, whatever the case may be. Like the young lady just said in the video that I just shared prior to this one, this is a skills problem. You are at a deficit. You need to build yourself up way beyond finances, way beyond going to the gym. You need to build yourself up on the inside. The foundation is cracked. The foundation is cracked. The foundation is cracked. I want to say that. You need to understand your foundation is cracked. Your data is corrupted. You know what I mean? You have to tap in. You have to dig in deep and get into that.